This is He Knows His Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. All right, folks. Listen, man. Hear me and hear me well. Here's the truth of the fact of the matter, folks. People are sitting here, they talking about, Jabal Charlo and his performance against Brandon Ingram. Here's my take on it. A lot of folks out here, man, they are what I call sheep. You have a lot of quote unquote YouTubers, right? They all sit here and they follow the same narrative. They all jump and piggyback off of the same nonsense over and over again, right? They give you this ultra fanboy or ultra fangirl rhetoric because they all want to tell you the same stuff. And here's the thing with sheep. They're not leaders. They're not, especially natural born leaders at that. They're sheep for a reason because they follow narratives. They follow narratives that are in their benefit or in their benefactor. So now we're going to sit here and we're going to cast a stone continuously on Jamal Charlo. Okay. Jamal Charlo told you guys prior to the fight that Brandon Ingram's was going to be a harder fighter than a lot of other fighters that he has fought before. No one paid attention to that. Everybody's running the narrative. He's a low-level fighter. But if it was their fighter, a Canelo Alvarez that is, then they would have turned around and said, man, Brandon Ingram's, it's not like he was just a weak opponent. Brandon Ingram's, he was that opponent that, was an arduous fighter, And Canelo had to fight this guy. And they would be pulling up his resume and see the people he fought, et cetera, et cetera. Because, they want their cake and they want to eat it too. But why are people sitting here and throwing the stones continuously on the Charlos? I'm going to explain why. Because the Charlos have the same dichotomy that I have. They are men with purpose and men with an abundance mindset. They are comfortable in their own skin. They are confident men, folks. And folks are allergic to folks that are confident. Folks hate confident people. They can't stand them because confident people, what they do is they supersede their mindsets because their mindsets is weak. Their mindsets is fragile. And confident people, what they do is they expose people for what they truly are. Haters and trolls. Remember, I told you, man, the truth manifests as four things. It manifests as two emotions. The two emotions is you're hurt and you're offended, right? And then it manifests as two behaviors. The two behaviors is hating and trollism. That's what it manifests at its truest and most properest levels. But that's the truth of the fact of the matter, folks. The Charlos are doing their thing. They have both 154 and 160 shook and on witness protection. And here I go one day away from YouTube, right? Because, as a natural born leader, as a shepherd that I am, people always listen and they always want to hear what I got to say. But it was self-care yesterday for me, man. I had to get my chiropractic care. I had to get my massage. I had to get my fresh cut. As you guys see, I told you, I don't let nobody touch my hair but that barber because he be having your boy on point, have your boy tight. And then, once the haircut happens, they start peaking and then they start leaking. I'm going to say that again. Once the haircut happens, they start peaking and then they start leaking. It's just that simple. The haircut brings out the face. So I don't know what it is about me. Once I get a haircut, boy, I put all of these people on witness protection, man. It is what it is. But I was taking care of myself yesterday. Doing some remodelization in my second home, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I try to tell people. When you are a man or a woman with purpose and an abundance mindset, you have a lot of stuff going on. You don't have time to be sitting here and just focusing on one thing. But one thing was clear yesterday. I sat here and listened to a whole bunch of classic dolts and troglodytes, both male and female, and they all sound like a bunch of sheep to me. Oh, Adams won the fight. He won the fight. Let's see. Jamal Charlo said that he broke his hand. I'm going to have to defer to him on that because Jamal Charlo does not strike me as a guy that makes excuses. Canelo Alvarez has made excuse after excuse after excuse because we've had 4 or 5 gift decisions from this guy, right? Jamal Charlo faced adversity against Matt Korobov. You guys found out that Matt Korobov was a way harder and way better opponent than the step-in guy, right? In the last minute, Willie Monroe Jr. Well, you guys are also learning that Brandon Adams did not come in there with the mindset of a lay down mindset. Something has to be said for that in boxing, folks. When a fighter goes in there with the mentality that they're not just going to get laid down. Brandon Adams was screaming this to you guys all this time. He was telling you that he was going to bring the fight to Jermall Charlo. I heard it. And yesterday on my live stream, when I was trying to expand and expose and explain that, Brandon Adams was actually going to be a more arduous fight than what it is. You had Mexican community fan base folks that were running with this narrative because they want their cake and they want to eat it too, that Canelo could do this, he could do that, he could be a franchise champion, right? Which I don't even know what that is. Or, you know, he could fight whoever he wants. They'll justify a Rocky Fielding opponent, right? But then when it comes to Brandon Adams, oh, he's a bum. He's a cherry pick. See, this is the stuff that I'm talking about, man. It just shows the haterisms and the trollisms with people. They're mad with the Charlos because the Charlos know who they are as men. They're comfortable in their own skin. This is not me being no LDBC or like people say LDBC reject. Call it what you want, man. If you guys all this time think that a guy like me, who's a man with purpose and abundance mindset, a man who's gifted the ability to speak, because that's the difference between me and these guys on YouTube. A lot of them, they just talk. You know what I'm saying? They just run their mouth. I'm gifted with this stuff. I have the gift of gab. So when I speak, I expound on things that are on higher levels and that are way more comprehensive that their brain cells can't even comprehend. If I sit here and, you know what I'm saying, go back and forth with them, it's not even close. So when I give you guys a perspective, you're giving it from a comprehensive point of view because you're getting it from he knows his everything. Because I know a lot of every damn thing. Call it what you want. It is what it is. I told you I'm a 37-year-old man, but the wisdom that I have, I'm damn near close to 80. But that's because there's not too many things under the sun that I have not done. So when I see people that have my reflection in them, like the Charlos do, these are confident men. They are fighters that are prize fighters. So on one end, when it's your fighter, you want to sit there and glamorize them, right? And say that, oh, it's okay for them to be confident, right? And it's okay for them to be braggadocious because you're supporting them. But when it's somebody like the Charlos that do it, it's a problem. That's a double standard, folks. That's what we call backward thinking. That's what we call wafflers. That's what we call people that move like the ocean. They don't know what to land on. They don't have nothing that's flat. Brandon Adams told you guys from the jump. I was listening, and some of the few other people that's out there, because there's some people on YouTube that you could see when they spoke like shepherd. Because remember what I told you, the shepherds are 1,000 miles apart from one another. The sheep are everywhere, man. They're ready to either be given information or they're ready to just go to the slaughter themselves because they'll fall for whatever narrative makes sense to them because, you know, they're sheep, they're followers. Adams told you guys he was going to give Charlo a hard fight. What part of that you guys don't understand? Remember, styles makes for fights. Have you guys not heard that saying in boxing? That is there for a reason. Stylistically, Brandon Adams gave Jermall Charlo some fits. That was evident in that fight. But to me, Jermall Charlo still had a dominating performance because, mind you, he had only one hand he was working with. And I'm going to defer to that. If Charlo tells me that his hand was injured, I'm going to believe him in that regard because Jermall Charlo, it does not strike me as a guy that needs to make an excuse. For what? What does he gain out of that? Especially with him getting the promotion of the WBC regular champion. He understands what's at stake here in the middleweight division. So why is he going to make up that he had his injury in his hand? Obviously, that impaired him in the fight. Because look at what happened. It was a 12-round decision. So imagine if a Jermall Charlo was 100% and he was healthy in that fight. How do you think that fight would have played out? So it is what it is, man. We got to see things for what it is, folks. And we need to stop running with narratives because we all want to jump on the same bandwagon or the same trail. That's the problem with folks. They always want to jump on this nonsense. We can't do that here. We have to be deep thinkers. Now you guys understand the saying when I say deep thinkers out here in these boxing streets. A lot of people are not that. A lot of people are not using what's called the true boxing eye test. It's a dominating performance if you have one arm and you still turn out and win the decision the way that you did. I don't care what anybody tell me. Brandon Adams, what he proved to everyone was he was not this cherry pick, or he was not this bum that you guys thought that he was. Maybe he was just a lot better than what your minds told you he was. Can we give Brandon Adams his credit? Because Jamal Charlo was trying to tell you that. He said this guy was more talented than a lot of other fighters that he has fought before. He prepped you for this because he knew what he was going into. And I'm sorry, these guys are the sweet science artists, so I'm going to defer to them. They're the ones that step into the square circle. They're the ones that know what's going on, not all of these talking heads that supposedly think they know what they're talking about. These guys do. So the truth of the fact of the matter is, Jamal Charlo faced another adverse opponent, right? Another adversity, another opponent that challenged him. But he still won. That was the end all be all. There was no controversy there. See, and that's the difference between him and Cinnamon Canelo Alvarez. There's controversy mired in this man's career. You can't say that with Jamal Charlo. So what are we going to say now? He had a close fight with Matt Corbo. He had a close fight with Brandon Adams. But everybody else he knocked out. So now we're going to basically shit on them now? I mean, come on, folks. Are you your own person? Do you have your own brain? Or you have your own ability to think? Or are you going to be a follower of the sheep that you are and continue to go with what everybody else is telling you? Because that's really what the issue here. It's not Jamal Charlo. It's not Mel Charlo. Mel had a controversial fight against Tony Harrison. Mind you, that fight itself should have still went to Mel because Tony Harrison did not do enough definitively to take the belt from the champion. That's the rules of boxing. And then when we look at Jorge Cota, people sit here and say that he was outboxing Mel. Okay, with his 1970 shorts that looked like they were just coming all the way above his stomach navel. Okay, that dude that was just sitting there in his wide stance, that was just standing all along, he was outboxing Mel Charlo. I don't know what fight you guys were watching. This is the stuff that's making me laugh, man. People are not using the true boxing eye test. They're doing this. They're running their freaking mouths. Because that's what happens when you're dealing with a bunch of haters and trolls, classic dolts and troglodytes. They do nothing but run their freaking mouths. That's what they do best. But they don't have the gift of gab, and they're not telling you anything that's substantive. I just gave you substantive stuff here. Mel told you he was fighting an opponent that was worthy. And Mel had one arm and still won the decision. So Mel gets, I'm saying Maul. Maul had one arm and he still got the decision. So Maul gets the credit here, man. For being able, in adversity, mind you, to not complain and still get the job done. Something has to be said for that. Because every fight is not going to be a dominating performance. So we're going to run with this narrative that Jamal Charlo is not this and he's not that. But guess what? When it's all said and done, he goes and he knocks out the next opponent. That's a quality opponent, mind you. Then people are going to sit here and go, higgity fucking hush. But compare him to now Demetrius Andrade. People are saying, man, against the Saluki fight, man, Demetrius Andrade fought, you know what I'm saying, a worthy opponent and he washed him. Credit to Demetrius Andrade. It just tells us that Demetrius Andrade is a skillful fighter. And mind you, Demetrius Andrade is now catching up, folks, because Demetrius Andrade was given the belt. He didn't beat anybody significantly. That fight against BJ Saunders that was supposed to happen, that's not on his fault. But at the end of the day, he was given the belt and he didn't earn it against a worthy opponent. Jamal Charlo has been fighting better opposition than Demetrius Andrade. And now, because of one fight that Demetrius Andrade actually fought an arduous opponent, right? We're going to sit here and give him credit against Maul. I tell you, man, the hate for the Charlo brothers is too unreal, man. It just shows you guys as the haters and the trolls that you guys are, man. This is He Knows His Sport. Check it out.